Grant Larkin grumbled as he wrangled the heavy diagnostic panel back into its casing. What kind of engineer forgets to pack an extra set of cable clips? He glanced at the dusty control deck and gave a resigned sigh. This is why I never sign up for these remote station gigs. His colleague and best friend, Sam, laughed from across the room, where he was crouched beneath a partially dismantled console. Hey, don't blame me, man. You're the one who agreed to the last-minute contract. 1 week, decent pay, barely any work. Remember? Sam tugged on a stubborn piece of conduit, then turned to look at Grant, his face streaked with grease and sweat. How's that working out for you? Grant straightened up and ran a hand through his short, dark hair, leaving streaks of grime. It's working out great. I mean, who wouldn't want to spend 7 days breathing recycled air in a derelict station? He pointed at a massive ceremonial tapestry hanging over the main control chair, its colors faded with age. And what's the deal with this decor? Looks like someone tried to merge a medieval throne room with a cheap space diner. Sam chuckled as he joined Grant near the chair. You've got to admit it's got a certain charm. The kind of charm that says, don't touch anything or it might explode. He gestured at the throne-like chair, its surface gleaming with intricate carvings and inlaid crystals. What do you think this thing's for? Probably the galaxy's most uncomfortable captain's seat, Grant said, eyeing it warily. No way something that fancy is practical. He bent down to inspect the base, noting a series of glowing symbols etched into the metal. Sam leaned on the armrest, shaking his head. I swear, Grant, you're always so paranoid about these things. It's just an old chair. No secret codes, no hidden death traps. Watch. I'll prove it. Before Grant could stop him, Sam plopped into the seat with a triumphant grin. Nothing happened. Sam stretched his legs and leaned back. See? Totally safe. Now you can stop worrying and... A low hum filled the room, and the glowing symbols on the chair's base brightened. Sam froze, his grin fading. Okay. Maybe it's not totally safe. Grant took a step back, raising his hands. What did you do? I didn't do anything, Sam exclaimed, trying to rise, but the chair's armrests seemed to hold him in place. The hum grew louder, and the air around them seemed to vibrate. Before either of them could react further, a hidden panel in the far wall slid open, and a group of tall, silver-skinned aliens strode into the room, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Grant's pulse quickened. Well, now we know why they left the station empty. One of the aliens stepped forward, its voice resonating as if it were coming from the very walls. The throne of the Archivora has been claimed. It turned its glowing gaze to Sam, who was now looking more terrified than triumphant. You are the chosen leader. Grant blinked. Chosen leader? Wait a second. He's not a leader. He's not even a good follower. You've got the wrong guy. The alien ignored him, its attention focused solely on Sam. Archivora, the assembly awaits your commands. Sam laughed nervously, pulling at the armrests. Yeah, about that. I think there's been a mistake. I was just sitting down for a minute. You know, taking a load off. I'm not exactly qualified to command anything. The alien tilted its head as if processing Sam's words. The throne does not choose wrongly. Your presence here was foretold. Foretold. Grant stepped in front of Sam, hoping to defuse the situation. Listen, we're just a couple of engineers sent here to fix some broken equipment. That's it. We're not here to rule your assembly or fulfill any prophecies. The alien turned to him, its glowing eyes narrowing. And yet, your friend now sits on the throne. Because he's an idiot who can't resist sitting in fancy chairs, Grant snapped, immediately regretting his tone. Look, this is clearly some kind of misunderstanding. Just let us get back to our work, and we'll be out of your way. A second alien stepped forward, its voice calm but firm. The Archivora has chosen. The council will convene. He must speak to them. Grant sighed, rubbing his temples. Sam, you really outdid yourself this time. Sam gave him a sheepish grin. Hey, at least we'll have a cool story to tell when we get home. If we get home, Grant muttered. He turned back to the aliens, trying a more diplomatic approach. What exactly does being Archivora involve? Maybe we can sort this out without any confusion. The first alien's glowing eyes seemed to dim slightly as if considering the question. The Archivora is the unifying force, the one who will guide our people toward renewal. Grant frowned. Renewal of what? Our fractured clans, our scattered alliances, the alien replied. The Archivora is the link between what we were and what we may yet become. Sam raised his hand awkwardly, still trapped in the chair. Not to ruin your dramatic explanation, but I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not from your planet, and I don't know the first thing about your clans or alliances. I'm just a guy who fixes broken space stations. The alien's gaze didn't waver. The throne chooses. It is not for us to question. Grant and Sam exchanged uneasy glances. So, Grant said slowly, if the throne chooses and the throne never chooses wrong, what happens if the guy it chooses has no clue what he's doing? A third alien, silent until now, spoke. Then it falls to his closest companion to guide him. Grant raised an eyebrow. Closest companion? You mean me? The alien nodded. You who speak for him, who shield him from doubt. You must ensure he succeeds. Grant stared at the alien, then turned back to Sam. You owe me so many beers when we get out of this. Sam chuckled nervously. Deal. Just get me out of this chair first. The alien stepped back, forming a semicircle around the throne. The lead alien spoke again, its voice low and resonant. Archivora, the council awaits. Will you address them? Sam looked at Grant, his eyes wide. What do I say? Grant took a deep breath, considering his options. Just start by introducing yourself. Keep it simple. Say you're honored to be here even if you're not sure why. Then we'll figure it out from there. Sam nodded slowly. Okay. Honored to be here. Not sure why. Got it. As the aliens escorted them toward the council chamber, Grant leaned close to Sam and muttered, You really owe me those beers. Sam grinned weakly. Make it a whole case. Grant leaned against the cool metal of the corridor wall, arms crossed as Sam paced in front of him. This is insane. Absolutely insane, Sam muttered. His voice echoed faintly in the high-ceilinged hallway, the glow of alien light panels casting long shadows across their faces. Yeah, no kidding, Grant replied. You think I don't know that? We just got press-ganged into running an entire civilization. How do you even navigate an assembly of aliens who think you're their chosen one? You're asking me? I'm the guy who sat in the chair. Sam stopped pacing long enough to jab a finger in Grant's direction. You're supposed to be the smart one, remember? Great, so now I'm the smart guy who's stuck fixing your mess. Awesome. Grant sighed, running a hand through his short-cropped hair. Let's just focus on surviving the next 5 minutes. We need to figure out what these people actually want from us. A voice interrupted them from behind. You're not entirely alone in this. They turned to see Mazira, her tall, silver-skinned form gliding down the corridor toward them. Her golden eyes were calm, her movements as fluid as if she were walking on air. She carried a thin, tablet-like device in her hands which glowed faintly with shifting symbols. Grant narrowed his eyes. Oh, it's you. The one who declared Sam the Archivora without asking any questions. Mazira raised an elegant eyebrow. I didn't declare anything. The throne did. I'm just here to make sure you don't destroy what little order we have left. Reassuring, Grant said dryly. So, what's the plan? Because we have no idea what we're doing. That's obvious, Mazira replied, her voice level. Fortunately for you, I've spent my entire life navigating the intricacies of Corallian politics. I can guide you if you're willing to listen. Guided by an alien, Sam muttered half to himself. Never thought I'd see the day. Mazira stepped closer, her expression unreadable. You think this is a joke? My people are on the brink of collapse. Your actions could determine whether we move forward or fall apart entirely. Grant held up a hand. All right. No need to get dramatic. What do we need to do first? Mazira handed him the tablet. The symbols shifted into recognizable words, written in what appeared to be a simplified version of their own language. These are the current issues before the assembly. Trade disputes between clans, territory negotiations, resource allocations. The Archivora is expected to mediate, listen to all sides, and make decisions. Grant glanced at Sam. You up for that, Mr. Archivora? Sam groaned. I was a part-time electrician before this. I don't even like negotiating my phone bill. What am I supposed to tell them? Start by hearing them out, Mazira said. Show them that you're willing to listen. That alone will carry weight. Grant studied her. You seem awfully invested in this. Why do you care so much whether he succeeds? For a moment, Mazira hesitated. Because I've seen what happens when leaders fail. The chaos, the infighting. My family was torn apart by it. I don't want that to happen again. Sam's expression softened. I'm sorry to hear that. Mazira straightened, her composure returning. Don't be. Just don't make things worse. The conversation was cut short as they reached the assembly chamber. The doors slid open with a whisper, revealing a massive circular hall filled with Corallians. Some stood in small groups, their flowing robes shimmering under the chamber's radiant ceiling. Others were seated in tiered rows, their faces a mix of curiosity, skepticism, and barely concealed disdain. Sam gulped. That's a lot of people. Better than a lot of guns, Grant muttered. As they entered, the room fell silent. All eyes were on Sam. He glanced back at Grant, who gave him a small nod. Just keep it simple, Grant whispered. Say you're honored to be here, and that you'll listen to their concerns. Sam stepped forward, his voice wavering slightly. Greetings. I'm Sam. I know I'm not what you expected, but I'm here now, and I'm, ready to listen. The murmurs that followed weren't entirely positive, but they weren't hostile either. One of the elders stood, a tall Corallian with intricate patterns etched into his skin. Archivora, we welcome you to the assembly. It has been many cycles since the throne has been occupied. We hope you will guide us wisely. Sam nodded. Thanks. What's the first issue on the table? The elder gestured to a younger Corallian, who stepped forward and began outlining a dispute over mining rights on a distant moon. Sam listened, his face a mixture of concentration and confusion. Grant leaned in and whispered explanations when the terms got too technical, while Mazira occasionally interjected with clarifications. By the end of the first session, Sam's shirt was damp with sweat. As soon as they exited the chamber, he leaned against the wall and let out a long breath. That was brutal. I thought my head was going to explode. You didn't do half bad, Grant said, clapping him on the shoulder. You managed to say something that didn't make them riot, so I'd call that a win. Nazira crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. It's a start, but you'll need to do better. Better? I'm doing this on the fly. Sam protested. I'm not a politician. I'm not a leader. I'm just a guy who happened to sit in the wrong chair. Perhaps Mazira said quietly. But for now you are the Archivora. If you can't find it within yourself to lead, then all of this is pointless. Sam stared at her, then at Grant, who gave him a small shrug. She's got a point, man. Either we figure this out together, or we end up screwing over an entire civilization. No pressure. Sam groaned, rubbing his temples. Fine. I'll keep trying. But if this goes south, I'm blaming both of you. You'd better, Grant said with a grin. Because if it does, we're all going down together. The astral gardens stretched out before them like a dream. Each step they took on the smooth, glowing pathways felt weightless, as though the ground itself encouraged peace and contemplation. Tall crystalline plants shimmered in every hue imaginable, their delicate structures shifting gently as if swayed by an unseen breeze. Grant and Sam walked side by side, their voices low as they took in the surreal beauty of the space. Man, this is like something out of a sci-fi movie, Sam muttered, glancing at a pale blue plant that glowed faintly when he passed. I half expect little floating jellyfish to come out and start singing. Grant smirked. Just don't touch anything, Sam. I don't think we can afford another throne-level disaster. Don't worry, Sam replied with a mock salute. I've learned my lesson. No sitting, no touching, no leaning on anything that looks remotely important. Good, Grant said. Because this is supposed to be a quiet place for reflection. And I don't think they'd take kindly to you turning it into a tourist attraction. Mazira appeared from a nearby archway, her graceful stride soundless on the illuminated pathway. You're not wrong, she said, a faint smile playing on her lips. The astral gardens are a place of great significance to my people. Many come here to find clarity before making important decisions. Sam turned to her, spreading his arms. And yet here I am, the guy who still isn't sure how to pronounce half of your council members' names. Mazira tilted her head, her golden eyes catching the garden's light. You sell yourself short, Archivora. Understanding our names is far less important than understanding our needs. Grant stepped forward. And that's the tricky part, isn't it? Your people have been divided for so long, it's hard to figure out where to even begin. Every issue we bring up seems like it's tied to 5 other problems. That's not unusual, Mazira replied. Corallian politics are like the roots of the trees here, interconnected, tangled, and not easily separated. It takes time and patience to untangle them. Sam snorted. Well, patience isn't exactly my strong suit. But I guess I don't have much of a choice. He stuffed his hands into his pockets and looked up at the glowing canopy. So, what's the trick? How do I get these people to trust me when I don't even know what I'm doing? Mizira's expression softened. Trust isn't something you can force. It's earned step by showing that you're willing to listen, that you're willing to learn. Start small. Build relationships with the key representatives. Find common ground, even if it's just one issue you can all agree on. From there, trust will begin to grow. Sounds easy enough when you say it like that, Grant remarked, crossing his arms. But in reality, these clans have been at each other's throats for decades. What's going to make them believe that, Sam? He paused, catching Sam's raised eyebrow. Sorry, the Archivora is any different from the last failed leader? Mizira's gaze turned serious. That's the point. He isn't like the last leader. He's not bound by the old ways, the old grudges. That alone sets him apart. And as his companion, you can help him navigate these challenges. The two of you are already showing a level of cooperation that many here have forgotten. Sam chuckled. So, you're saying our buddy routine might actually work in our favor? Mizira allowed a small smile. Perhaps, though I would suggest refining it a bit before the next council meeting. Grant nodded. All right, I can work with that. Sam, we'll start focusing on a couple of representatives who seem open to dialogue. If we can get them to back us on one or two key issues, maybe the others will follow. Sounds like a plan, Sam agreed. But just so you know, I'm still blaming you if this all goes south. Fair, Grant replied with a shrug. But I'll remind you that you're the one who sat on that throne in the first place. Not my best move, Sam admitted. But if we're being honest, I'm kind of glad I didn't have to deal with all this alone. You and Mizira have been keeping me sane through this whole mess. Mizira's expression softened again, though her tone remained measured. You're not alone, Archivora. And as long as you're willing to keep trying, I'll continue to support you. Grant raised an eyebrow. Does that mean you're finally warming up to us? I wouldn't go that far, Mizira said, though the corners of her mouth lifted slightly. But you've shown more dedication than I expected. And that is a start. The three of them continued walking through the gardens, the conversation shifting to smaller, less serious topics. They spoke about the strange foods they'd seen in the Corallian market, the odd quirks of the station's architecture, and the subtle differences in Corallian and human humor. By the time they reached the end of the glowing pathway, the tension from earlier had eased, replaced by a sense of tentative camaraderie. The astral gardens, with their quiet beauty and shimmering light, had done more than provide a moment of reflection. They had given them the space to understand each other a little better. And though none of them would say it out loud, each one felt a small, cautious spark of hope that, perhaps, they could find a way forward. Sam stood at the edge of the assembly's central plaza, scanning the crowd. He tugged at the stiff collar of his ceremonial robe. This thing itches like crazy. Can't I just wear my normal clothes? Grant grinned, leaning against a stone pillar. You're the Archivora, remember? You've got to look the part or they won't take you seriously. Right? Because a glorified mechanic in fancy clothes will definitely inspire confidence, Sam muttered. He glanced at Grant. You sure about this? I'm not exactly a born diplomat. You'll be fine, Grant said. Besides, we've got Mizira. She's basically doing all the heavy lifting. All you have to do is back her up and try not to say anything too stupid. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Sam replied, rolling his eyes. At that moment, Mizira approached, her usual calm demeanor replaced by a hint of urgency. They're ready for you. Sam straightened his robe, glancing at Grant. Here goes nothing. Good luck, Grant said. I'll be right here if you need me. As Sam followed Mizira into the assembly hall, the murmur of voices rose. The chamber was filled with Corallian representatives, their silver skin reflecting the hall's shimmering lights. Some sat in curved rows of benches, while others stood in clusters, speaking in low tones. When Sam stepped onto the central platform, the room fell silent. Mizira gestured for him to speak. He took a deep breath, his hands clenching at his sides. Hi. Grant winced from the sidelines. Great start, he muttered under his breath. Sam cleared his throat, trying again. I know I'm not who you were expecting. I'm not a Corallian. I'm here to see how much potential you have. You're smart, resourceful, and capable of amazing things. I believe we can work together to address the challenges you're facing, if you'll give me a chance. The murmurs started again, louder this time. Mizira stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. The Archivora has made his intentions clear. It is now up to us to decide how to proceed. I ask each of you to consider this opportunity, to set aside old grievances and come together for the future of our people. A tall, stern-looking Corallian stood. His voice carried across the hall. Words are easy, but actions speak louder. Why should we trust someone who has only just arrived? Sam opened his mouth to respond, but Grant stepped forward. Because he's already proven that he's willing to try. All eyes turned to Grant, and he felt a flicker of self-consciousness. He forced himself to keep speaking. I've known Sam a long time. He's the kind of guy who doesn't back down from a challenge. He may not be from here, but he cares about what happens to this place. And more importantly, he's willing to listen. To all of you. The stern Corallian narrowed his eyes. Listening is not enough. We need leadership. And that's exactly what he's offering, Grant countered. He's not claiming to have all the answers, but he's willing to learn. Isn't that what a real leader does? The room was quiet for a long moment. Then, another representative spoke up. If the Archivora is truly committed, let him prove it. There is a long-standing dispute over the Oran trade routes. If he can help us resolve that, perhaps we can start to believe in his leadership. Sam looked at Mizira, who gave a small nod. We can work on that, she said. But it will require open dialogue and compromise from all parties involved. Grant leaned closer to Sam. This is good. If we can pull this off, we'll be one step closer to getting them on board. Sam nodded slowly, his expression tense but determined. All right, let's do it. Over the next several days, Sam, Grant, and Mizira worked tirelessly to bring the feuding clans together. Grant helped Sam understand the historical context of the trade dispute, while Mizira coached him on the intricacies of Corallian negotiation tactics. At first, progress was slow. The representatives argued over every detail, their decades of mistrust surfacing in heated exchanges. Sam struggled to keep up, often turning to Mizira or Grant for guidance. One evening, after yet another round of tense negotiations, Sam slumped into a chair in their makeshift office. This is impossible, he said, rubbing his temples. They're never going to agree on anything. Grant set a mug of steaming liquid, something resembling tea, on the table in front of Sam. It's not impossible, just really, really frustrating. Mizira sat across from them, her expression thoughtful. The key is finding a point of common interest. Something they all value more than their grievances. Sam sipped the drink and frowned. Easier said than done. Every time we get close, someone digs in their heels and we're back to square one. Grant leaned against the edge of the table. What if we approached it differently? Instead of focusing on what divides them, we focus on what they'll gain. Show them how cooperation benefits everyone. Mizira's eyes lit up. A unified trade agreement could lead to increased prosperity for all clans. If we present it as a shared opportunity rather than a concession, they might be more willing to compromise. Sam straightened in his chair, his tired expression shifting to one of cautious optimism. You think that'll work? It's worth a shot, Grant said. What's the worst that could happen? They yell at us a little more? Sam chuckled. Fair point. With their new approach, the tone of the negotiations began to shift. Instead of dwelling on past conflicts, they emphasized the potential benefits of a cooperative agreement. Slowly, the representatives started to engage more constructively, their arguments giving way to discussions of mutual gain. By the time the final draft of the agreement was ready, the room was buzzing with cautious optimism. Sam signed the document alongside the representatives, and for the first time since his accidental ascent to the throne, he felt a glimmer of genuine accomplishment. As the representatives filed out of the hall, Sam turned to Grant and Mizira. I think we actually did it. Mizira nodded, her usual stoic demeanor softening. You did well, Archivora. This is a significant step forward. Grant grinned, clapping Sam on the back. See? Told you we could handle it. We make a pretty good team. Sam looked at both of them, a rare smile on his face. I couldn't have done it without you guys. Grant smirked. Damn right you couldn't. Mizira gave a faint smile. Don't get too comfortable. There's still much work to be done. Yeah, but at least now I know we can handle it, Sam said. He glanced at Grant. Together. Together, Grant agreed. The council chamber felt different now. The heavy tension that once filled the air had eased, replaced by an undercurrent of cautious anticipation. Sam sat at the head of the table, his back straight, his hands clasped before him. Grant stood to his right, a reassuring presence. Mazira sat to his left, her golden eyes scanning the room, quietly taking in the mood of the gathered representatives. Sam leaned closer to Grant and muttered, "They're not shouting. That's a good sign, right?" Grant smirked. "It's a start. Don't screw it up." The chief representative of the northern clans, a tall, wiry Corellian named Visari, stood and addressed the assembly. The Oran trade agreement marks the first step toward stability. But it is just that, a first step. We remain divided on many issues, particularly on the allocation of our energy resources. Mazira nodded slightly as if she had anticipated this. She turned her head toward Sam, waiting. Sam cleared his throat, his voice steady. "What if we approach this the same way we handled the trade dispute? Focus on shared benefits. If we can find a solution that guarantees energy access for all clans, wouldn't that strengthen our position as a united assembly?" A representative from the Eastern Alliance, a silver-skinned elder named Zorthan, raised his hand. "It sounds reasonable in theory, but how do you propose we ensure fairness? Some regions consume far more energy than others." Grant spoke up, his tone measured. "We could establish a rotating distribution system. Each region gets priority during certain cycles, ensuring everyone has equal access over time. If we keep records transparent, it might build the trust needed to maintain the agreement." Vasari frowned, leaning on the table. "A noble idea, but not without risks. Who oversees this distribution? Who enforces it if one clan takes more than their share?" "That's where we come in," Mazira said calmly. "The assembly must create a neutral oversight committee. Representatives from each region can serve on it, ensuring no one group holds too much power. It will take time to build trust, but the alternative is continued conflict." Sam looked around the table, noting the thoughtful expressions on the representatives' faces. "What do you think? Is this something we can try?" Zorthan leaned back, his expression skeptical but not dismissive. "I'm willing to consider it, but only if we receive full transparency. Any deception or imbalance and the agreement falls apart." Mazira inclined her head. "Agreed. Transparency is key." Sam glanced at Grant, who gave him a small nod. "All right," Sam said, addressing the room. "Let's put it to a vote. If we have enough support, we can move forward. If not, we'll go back to the drawing board." The representatives murmured among themselves. Mazira facilitated the process, guiding each region's leader through the voting protocol. When the results were tallied, a majority stood in favor of the proposal. "Well, I'll be damned," Grant said under his breath. "It actually worked." Sam allowed himself a small smile, but his voice remained steady. "Good. Then let's get started. Mazira, can you draft the framework for the Oversight Committee?" She nodded. "Of course. I'll have a preliminary outline ready by tomorrow." As the assembly session concluded, the representatives filed out of the chamber. Sam sat back in his chair, letting out a long breath. "Every time I think we're done, another problem pops up." "That's politics for you," Grant said with a grin. "But hey, at least you're getting the hang of it." "Yeah, well, I couldn't do it without you too. Mazira, you're always one step ahead. And Grant, you're like my personal sanity buffer." "Sanity buffer?" Grant laughed. "Is that a real job title?" "It is now," Sam replied. Mazira stood, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "You've both come a long way. The fact that the assembly is even considering these proposals is a sign of progress. But we can't afford to become complacent." Sam nodded. "I get that. And we'll keep pushing. Right, Grant?" "Right," Grant said, clapping him on the shoulder. "One step at a time." The three of them left the chamber together, the corridors humming with the quiet energy of a station slowly coming back to life. For the first time since their arrival, Sam felt a small, fragile sense of purpose. It wasn't easy, and it sure as hell wasn't what he had planned, but it was beginning to feel worth it.